Nestled within the heart of Rome, the Vatican City stands as a beacon of faith for over 1 billion Catholics worldwide. It is a place of pilgrimage, of ancient tradition, and of profound spiritual significance. Its magnificent basilicas, awe-inspiring art, and sacred relics draw visitors from every corner of the globe. Behind the grandeur lies another side, shrouded in secrecy and intrigue. This is the world of Vatican finance, a complex and often opaque realm. We will delve into the scandals that have rocked the Church and the crises that have threatened its foundations. This is the captivating tale of the Vatican's financial secrets. To understand the Vatican's financial complexities, one must first grasp the weight of its history. For centuries, the Catholic Church held immense temporal power, ruling over vast territories and commanding the allegiance of kings and emperors. During the Middle Ages, the Papal States encompassed a significant portion of central Italy, generating substantial revenue through taxation and land ownership. The Church's wealth grew further through donations from the faithful, often in the form of land, art, and precious objects. These gifts, intended to secure salvation and demonstrate piety, contributed to the Church's vast holdings. Over time, the Vatican amassed an unparalleled collection of art, manuscripts, and historical artifacts, making it a custodian of Western cultural heritage. This accumulation of wealth, however, came with its own set of challenges. Managing such vast resources required financial acumen and administrative expertise. The Church, with its hierarchical structure and emphasis on spiritual matters, often struggled to adapt to the complexities of modern finance. The transition from a temporal power to a primarily spiritual authority in the 19th century brought about significant financial upheaval. The loss of the Papal States deprived the Church of a major source of income, forcing it to rely more heavily on donations and investments. This marked a turning point in the Vatican's financial history, ushering in an era of both challenges and adaptations. As the 20th century dawned, the Vatican faced a rapidly changing world. The rise of secularism, the decline of religious observance in some parts of the world, and the two world wars all took a toll on the Church's finances. Donations dwindled as economic hardship spread, and the Vatican's investments, often tied to traditional sectors, suffered. Yet it wasn't merely external forces that strained the Vatican's coffers. Internal mismanagement, a lack of transparency, and questionable financial decisions played a significant role in its woes. The Vatican's hierarchical structure, often resistant to change and external scrutiny, made it slow to adapt to modern financial management practices. The consequences of these failings were substantial. The Vatican found itself embroiled in financial scandals that shook the Church to its core. These scandals not only damaged the Church's reputation, but also eroded the trust of the faithful, leading to a decline in donations and a crisis of confidence. This period of turmoil exposed the vulnerabilities of the Vatican's financial system and the urgent need for reform. It was a wake-up call that change was not merely desirable, but essential for the Church's survival and the preservation of its moral authority. The road ahead would be long and arduous, requiring courage, transparency, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. While the Vatican's vast art collections are awe-inspiring, they represent a significant financial burden. Maintaining these treasures requires continuous funds. The cost of upkeep and security is astronomical. Beyond physical assets, the Vatican supports a vast global network. Funding missions and providing aid are central to the Church's mission. Balancing these endeavors with financial stability is an ongoing challenge. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 sent shockwaves through the global economy, and the Vatican was not immune to the fallout. Donations, which had always fluctuated with economic conditions, plummeted as nations diverted resources to the war effort. The conflict also disrupted international financial markets, impacting the Vatican's investments and ability to manage its assets effectively. Adding to the difficulties, many of the Vatican's traditional sources of income were located in Europe, the epicenter of the war. Land holdings, investments in European industries, and donations from European Catholics were all negatively impacted by the conflict. The war highlighted the vulnerability of the Vatican's financial portfolio, which was heavily concentrated in a region engulfed by conflict. The war years forced the Vatican to confront its financial limitations and the need for greater diversification. It became painfully clear that relying heavily on European sources of income was no longer a viable long-term strategy. The Vatican needed to find new ways to generate revenue and manage its finances in an increasingly uncertain world. The post-war period brought little respite for the Vatican. While Europe slowly began to rebuild, the war had left its mark on the global economy. Inflation soared, currencies fluctuated wildly, and the threat of further conflict loomed large. The Vatican, still reeling from the financial shocks of the war, struggled to regain its footing in this unstable environment. The 1929 Wall Street crash and the ensuing Great Depression plunged the world into an unprecedented economic crisis. The collapse of stock markets, widespread bank failures, and mass unemployment had a devastating impact on economies worldwide. The Vatican, already grappling with the aftermath of World War I, found itself facing a new and even more daunting financial challenge. The Great Depression hit the Vatican's finances on multiple fronts. Donations from the faithful, now facing their own economic hardships, dwindled significantly. The value of the Vatican's investments, particularly those in the struggling European economies, plummeted. The crisis exposed the fragility of the Vatican's financial structure and the lack of a coherent investment strategy. During this period, the Vatican's financial management came under increasing scrutiny. Critics, both within and outside the Church, questioned the Vatican's investment decisions, its lack of transparency, and its ability to manage its resources effectively. The crisis served as a wake-up call, highlighting the urgent need for reform and modernization within the Vatican's financial institutions. The Vatican's response to the Great Depression was slow and often inadequate. Lacking experienced financial professionals and resistant to change, the Vatican struggled to adapt to the rapidly evolving economic landscape. Decisions were often made based on tradition and internal politics rather than sound financial principles, exacerbating the Vatican's financial woes. The Vatican's financial troubles peaked in the 70s and 80s with the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano, an Italian bank closely tied to the Vatican. At the heart of this scandal was Roberto Calvi, known as God's banker, due to his close relationship with the Vatican Bank. Calvi's ties with the Vatican positioned Banco Ambrosiano as a key player in the Church's financial dealings. Behind the facade, Banco Ambrosiano was involved in fraudulent activities including money laundering and embezzlement. Calvi was deeply involved with organized crime, laundering funds for the Italian mafia. When Banco Ambrosiano collapsed in 1982, it dragged the Vatican into a major international scandal. In the aftermath of Banco Ambrosiano's collapse, investigations unearthed a web of intrigue, corruption, and criminal activity. Italian authorities faced resistance from the Vatican, which claimed diplomatic immunity. Roberto Calvi was found hanged from Blackfriars Bridge in London days after the collapse. His death, initially ruled a suicide, remains shrouded in mystery. The circumstances fueled conspiracy theories implicating powerful figures. Investigations revealed the Vatican Bank made questionable loans to Banco Ambrosiano. The Vatican Bank became entangled in criminal finance, jeopardizing its reputation. The scandal shook the Vatican and sent shockwaves through the Catholic world. The Banco Ambrosiano scandal was more than just a financial crisis for the Vatican, it was a crisis of faith. The image of the Church, long regarded as a beacon of morality, was deeply tarnished. The scandal shook the faith of Catholics worldwide. The Vatican's initial response was slow and inadequate. This reluctance to accept responsibility further damaged the Church's credibility. The media scrutinized the Vatican's every move, exposing its financial dealings. The scandal led to calls for greater financial transparency and accountability. The Banco Ambrosiano scandal and the Vatican's financial struggles unfolded against striking contrasts. The Church preached humility, yet the Vatican stood as a testament to opulence and centuries of riches. This dissonance fueled criticism and raised questions about the Vatican's priorities. Popes and cardinals resided in lavish palaces adorned with priceless art. They celebrated Mass in St. Peter's Basilica, surrounded by gold and marble. Outside the Vatican walls, a different reality often prevailed. Millions of Catholics struggled with poverty and hunger. The Church worked to alleviate suffering, but the opulence of the Vatican stood in stark contrast. Critics argued the Vatican's wealth could do more to help the poor. Section 2, the Price of Splendor. The Vatican argued its art and historical treasures were part of a shared human heritage. These masterpieces were testaments to faith, creativity, and the human spirit. Maintaining these treasures was a responsibility. However, the cost was substantial. Restoring frescoes and preserving manuscripts required continuous funds. The Vatican museums incurred significant expenses for staff and security. Balancing preservation with financial prudence was a challenge. The Vatican's status as a sovereign state came with financial obligations. Security for the Pope and Vatican City required significant expenditures. Section 3, a disconnect grows. The tension between the Vatican's wealth and its message of humility was not new. The Church grappled with balancing its power and wealth with its spiritual mission. In the latter half of the 20th century, this tension became more pronounced. Mass media brought the Vatican's opulence into sharper focus. Images of papal ceremonies were often juxtaposed with news of poverty. This visual contrast contributed to a growing perception of disconnect. Financial scandals like the Banco Ambrosiano affair exacerbated this problem. Revelations of financial mismanagement eroded public trust. The scandals reinforced the image of a wealthy, out-of-touch institution. A call for accountability. Scandal and financial mismanagement forced the Vatican to confront its shortcomings. Pope John Paul II recognized the urgent need for radical change. He appointed Ettore Gotti Tedeschi to head the Vatican Bank. Tedeschi, a respected economist, aimed to bring transparency and accountability. The Vatican was finally willing to embrace financial transparency. Section 2, Transparency and Reform. Tedeschi, with the Pope's support, embarked on an ambitious reform agenda. He aimed to overhaul the Vatican's financial institutions and culture of secrecy. His priority was to comply with international standards for combating money laundering. Tedeschi implemented stricter due diligence and enhanced transaction monitoring. These measures faced resistance from those viewing them as a threat to tradition. He published the bank's annual report and commissioned an independent audit. These reforms were just the first steps in a challenging journey. Section 3, a new era of stewardship. Despite the challenges, Tedeschi's reforms began to yield positive results. The Vatican Bank, once synonymous with secrecy and scandal, gradually gained a reputation for greater transparency and compliance. The bank's financial performance improved, and its commitment to ethical banking practices was increasingly recognized by international financial institutions. Tedeschi's efforts extended beyond the Vatican Bank. He worked to improve the financial management of the Vatican City state, introducing more rigorous accounting procedures, enhancing budgetary oversight, and seeking to increase revenue from the Vatican museums and other sources. His goal was to ensure the Vatican's financial sustainability while upholding its commitment to its spiritual mission. Tedeschi's tenure at the Vatican Bank, however, was short-lived. In 2012, amidst internal conflicts and resistance to his reform efforts, he was abruptly dismissed by the Vatican. His departure raised concerns about the future of financial reform within the Vatican and cast a shadow over the progress that had been made. Despite Tedeschi's departure, the seeds of reform had been sown. His successors, while facing similar challenges and resistance, continued to build upon the foundation he had laid. The Vatican, under Pope Benedict XVI and later Pope Francis, continued to move, albeit slowly and with occasional setbacks, towards greater financial transparency, accountability, and ethical stewardship of its resources. Section 1. A return to stability. The reforms initiated by Ettore Tedeschi marked a turning point in the Vatican's financial journey. His successors inherited both progress and challenges. The path ahead was clear towards greater transparency and accountability. Pope Benedict XVI recognized the importance of financial reforms. He appointed Cardinal Attilio Nicola to oversee economic affairs. Nicola's appointment signaled a commitment to strengthening financial controls. Under Nicola, the Vatican aimed to enhance transparency and compliance. The Financial Information Authority was strengthened to oversee the Vatican Bank. The Vatican signed agreements to combat tax evasion and financial crime. These efforts began to yield positive results. The Vatican Bank gradually regained trust and improved financial performance. The Vatican's commitment to reform was restoring its credibility. The election of Pope Francis in 2013 brought a renewed emphasis on the Church's social mission. Known for his humility and advocacy for social justice, Francis made it clear the Church's wealth should serve the vulnerable. He established the dicastery for promoting integral human development to address poverty, migration, and environmental protection. The Vatican Bank announced investments in renewable energy, reflecting the Church's commitment to environmental stewardship. The Vatican explored using its real estate for affordable housing and social enterprises. Francis's vision was about using wealth as a tool for social transformation and building a just world. The Vatican's financial journey, from scandal and crisis to a slow but steady path toward recovery and reform, offers valuable lessons for institutions grappling with transparency and accountability. The Church's experience shows that even deeply entrenched institutions can evolve. The Vatican's reforms have had a tangible impact. Increased transparency has helped restore trust and reduced vulnerability to financial crime. The focus on ethical investment aligns with its core values. The journey serves as a reminder that financial reform is about restoring integrity and rebuilding trust. Transparency, accountability, and ethical leadership are essential for any institution. The Vatican's financial transformation is a testament to the power of reform and ethical leadership. The Vatican's financial journey is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the human capacity for redemption. What began as a tale of scandal and mismanagement has evolved into a story of reform and renewal. The transformation did not happen overnight, nor was it achieved without setbacks and challenges. Embracing transparency and modern financial management was a reaffirmation of the Church's commitment to ethical conduct. The Vatican's story is ultimately one of hope and renewal. It shows that even institutions steeped in tradition can evolve and adapt. The Vatican's financial reforms were not merely about balancing budgets. They were about restoring the Church's credibility and moral authority. Scandals had shaken the faith of many Catholics, who struggled to reconcile the Church's teachings with its lavish lifestyle and financial dealings. The reforms, met with resistance, were driven by a belief that the Church's mission transcended financial concerns. The Church's teachings on social justice and serving the poor could not align with secrecy and financial impropriety. The reforms were a reaffirmation of faith, recognizing the Church's true wealth in its spiritual heritage and commitment to the gospel. The enduring power of faith was evident in the Vatican's commitment to reform and the resilience of the Catholic community worldwide. The Vatican's financial journey is far from over. The reforms implemented represent just the beginning of a long process of transformation. The Church must constantly adapt, confronting new challenges and seeking innovative solutions. The Vatican's experience offers valuable lessons for other institutions. Strong ethical leadership is essential for fostering a culture of integrity. Leaders must challenge the status quo and prioritize the common good. Independent oversight and external scrutiny are crucial. No institution is above the law or immune to the temptations of power. The Vatican looks to the future with a renewed sense of purpose. The Church's mission remains as relevant today as it was centuries ago. The Vatican's financial reforms have empowered the Church to pursue its mission with renewed vigor. The Vatican's journey offers a message of hope for all institutions. Transparency, accountability, and ethical conduct are essential for building a more just world. The Vatican's story is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the transformative potential of embracing change.